Asli is a 28-year-old fashion designer who has built a successful career. She works for a big fashion brand and is known for her youthful, rich, and city lifestyle. On top of her career, Asli has another passion: blogging. She runs a blog called Love Tactics, where she writes about love and relationships. On her blog, she shares advice on dating, relationships, and gives tactics to help people. Her friends often turn to her when they have relationship issues, and they all think she's an expert in the field. However, there's one thing that no one knows: Asli has never been in love herself. One day, a follower named Jansu asks Asli if she's ever applied her own love tactics in her own life. This question makes Asli stop and think. She realizes that she's been giving advice to others but has never actually followed it herself. She wonders what would happen if she used her own tactics for a change. Asli becomes curious and starts to think about how she could test her advice. Her friends challenge her to make a guy fall in love with her using the same strategies she shares on her blog. Confident in her skills and eager to prove herself, Asli decides to take on the challenge. She announces it to her followers, including Jansu, and begins the experiment. She's determined to show that her love advice can work in real life, just as she teaches her readers. Karam, a 30-year-old advertising expert, is a well-known playboy. He has a reputation for enjoying one-night stands with women, never looking back after the night is over. His friends are certain that Karam will never fall in love with anyone, nor will anyone fall for him. He shows little interest in relationships, preferring casual encounters instead. When a project that Karam has worked hard on is suddenly reassigned to his friend and co-worker, Tuna, Karam becomes frustrated. Tuna, knowing Karam's ego, challenges him with a bet. If Karam can make a girl fall in love with him, Tuna will give the project back to him. Confident in his charm and macho personality, Karam accepts the challenge, sure that his ability to win over any woman will never fail him. Unbeknownst to both of them, Karam and Asli, two self-proclaimed love experts, are about to cross paths. Their differing views on love and relationships are set to create a fake love story neither of them expects. At a lively party, Asli and her friends are on the lookout for an easy target, someone to charm or impress for fun. As they're scanning the room, they notice Karam, who seems to be eyeing Asli. Unbeknownst to her, Karam's friends, Tuna and Amir, have chosen her as the person he should try to win over as part of their challenge. Asli and Karam's game of love tactics begins when Karam casually starts flirting with Asli. However, Asli quickly sees through his moves, calling them predictable and cliché. She isn't impressed by his usual charms. Meanwhile, Tuna, who is at the party with his own agenda, finds himself falling for Jansu, one of Asli's friends. Next, the two groups set up a planned coincidence. With the help of Tuna and Jansu, they try to create a situation where Asli and Karam can, accidentally, bump into each other again. However, their plan is disrupted when Asli's boss asks her to stay behind for work, ruining the setup. But fate has other plans. An unexpected, true coincidence brings Asli and Karam together once again. As it turns out, both Asli's agency and Karam's agency are pitching for the same important account, the Servet account. This new development throws them together in a professional setting, where their personal games of attraction are set against the backdrop of their business rivalry. After the Servet event, Asli and Karam find themselves sharing a cab. The rain pours down, and it's the only cab available, which forces them to spend time together. Once inside, the tension between them is palpable, but soon enough, they end up having dinner together at an oceanside restaurant. Karam, as usual, pulls out all the stops to impress Asli, using his well-worn tactics: an expensive meal, a beautiful view, and even hiring a cellist to play for them. However, Asli isn't fooled. She knows these moves all too well, and instead of being impressed, she mocks him for trying to use them on her. Despite their growing animosity, Asli decides to keep up her challenge, as promised, and blogs about the situation, declaring that even though she can't stand him, she'll continue trying to make Karam fall in love with her. In the midst of their back and forth, Asli leaves her jacket in the cab, hoping Karam would return it. But Karam sees through her little plan and instead has the jacket couriered back to her, showing that he's not as easy to read as she thought. They both continue waiting for the other to make the next move. Soon, another coincidence arises. Mr. Servet, the man they both worked for, invites both their companies to Cappadocia for a special business trip. To their surprise, Asli and Kerem are both sent as representatives. When they arrive, Asli discovers that Servet is not just interested in business, he's also taken an interest in her. In fact, he has bought her company and made Meltem, his daughter, Asli's new boss. To make things even more complicated, Meltem is keen on Kerem, adding yet another layer of drama. During the trip, Meltem makes her intentions clear, trying to seduce Kerem, but Kerem, ever the playboy, tries to avoid her advances. He tells her that he can't be with her because a horse kicked him in the nuts, leaving him impotent for life. Meanwhile, Servet becomes quite frisky with Asli, which makes Kerem feel uncomfortable, and he intervenes to get them both drunk so that he and Asli can escape the situation. Kerem takes Asli to his childhood home in Cappadocia, and she sees a side of him she never expected. In his hometown, Kerem is a different person. He has deep, genuine relationships with the people there, and Asli begins to understand the real Kerem, a man who has faced profound loss. He shares the painful story of his childhood. His mother left him and his father when he was very young, and shortly after, his father passed away, leaving him to grow up alone. Kerem never received the love he craved, and he still carries the pain of his mother's abandonment, a grudge that lingers in his heart. For the first time, Asli begins to see the complexities of Kerem's life, and her judgment starts to shift. What seemed like a simple game of attraction has evolved into something deeper, as both Asli and Kerem confront their own feelings and the emotional wounds they've been hiding. Asli finds herself slowly changing her perspective on Kerem. The more she gets to know him, the more she realizes how judgmental and biased she had been at first. She had seen him through the lens of stereotypical assumptions, but now, she's starting to break free from those beliefs. Kerem, unknowingly, has challenged her views on men, and with every moment they spend together, he is slowly making her question the image she had built of him. For Kerem, it's a completely different experience. He's never shared his personal life with anyone like this before, especially not with a woman. His guarded nature starts to crack as he opens up to Asli about the pain of his past and the emotional scars he still carries. What begins as a game between the two of them slowly transforms into something far more meaningful. They realize how invested they've become in each other in such a short time, yet neither is ready to make a move. There's a hesitation, maybe because they don't fully understand what they're feeling. Are they falling in love? It's a feeling they've never experienced before, and both are uncertain. As they return from their trip to Cappadocia, Asli feels the pressure to make a decision. She's been chronicling their journey on her blog, using the pseudonym, Mr. K, for Kerem, and without expecting it, their story starts to gain momentum. Mr. K becomes a viral sensation, with thousands of people eagerly awaiting to see if the enigmatic man will fall in love with Asli. However, Kerem is completely unaware of the viral sensation surrounding him. The idea that their story is being watched by so many only adds complexity to the situation. One evening, Kerem invites Asli over to his place for dinner. What was supposed to be a romantic evening filled with passion and flirtation turns into something more profound. As they talk over dinner, they delve deep into their emotions, sharing their vulnerabilities and thoughts. The playful, competitive dynamic they once had shifts into a sincere and intimate conversation, one that brings them closer than ever. As they discuss their fears, dreams, and pasts, the lines between their challenge and real feelings blur. By the end of the evening, they both realize the truth: they have fallen in love with each other. The realization hits them both at the same time, and suddenly, their game seems unimportant. What started as an experiment to make the other fall in love has led them to something real, something far more valuable. They no longer need to play games or prove their expertise in love. What they share now is genuine, and it's the kind of love neither of them expected to find. Kerem has come to terms with his feelings for Asli, and he openly admits to his friends that he's fallen in love with her. For the first time in his life, he's willing to risk his usual carefree attitude for something real. But Asli, still uncertain and struggling with her emotions, remains conflicted. While talking to her friends, she discovers something that shakes her. Her friend reveals that Karam is the one who ghosted her after a one-night stand, and this revelation leaves her questioning everything about him. In a moment of frustration and hurt, Asli makes a rash decision. She decides to humiliate Karam by posting his heartfelt love confession live on her blog. This move, fueled by her need to protect her love guru persona and avoid losing face with her followers, leads to her rejecting Karam's confession publicly. Asli, unfortunately, is a prime example of how social media has the power to control people's lives. She allows her online image and reputation to dictate her actions, even if it means denying her real feelings for Karam. In doing so, she not only hurts herself but also Karam, ruining both of their lives in the process. As a consequence of her actions, Asli is fired by her boss, Meltem, who also happens to be in love with Karam. Her life unravels quickly, and she's left facing the repercussions of her decision. Meanwhile, Karam, who now faces public humiliation because of Asli's post, has to go into hiding, avoiding public attention at all costs. Despite this, he agrees to go to London with Asli's boss, Meltem, but only under one condition: that Asli gets her job back. It's a sacrifice he's willing to make, but it's also a way for him to show he still cares for her, even after everything that happened. In the aftermath of her firing, Asli decides to close down her blog, choosing to leave behind the persona she created. It's a turning point for her, one that forces her to confront her own mistakes. In a moment of clarity, Asli realizes how much she truly cares about Karam, and despite the mess she created, she can't bear to let him go. Like a cliché love story she never imagined for herself, Asli rushes to stop him from leaving, determined to fix things. After a lot of chaos and emotional turmoil, Asli and Karam finally come together, acknowledging their love for each other. It's a messy, imperfect journey, but it's theirs. Both have learned that love isn't about following rules or maintaining a perfect image. It's about embracing vulnerability, facing mistakes, and ultimately choosing each other despite everything that's happened. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.